Hey, it's me, Henry, and you may be wondering what's the deal with this whole mask thing. Anyways, today I'm reviewing Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom of the Opera was released in 1925, 95 years ago, and I only just watched it, so I'm a little late to the party. It stars Lon Chaney as the titular Phantom, and I just gotta get this out of the way. I love this movie. It's so great. I had to get that out of the way. With that out of the way, let's get into this review. The version that I watched is commonly referred to as the Eastman print, and because I know most people have probably heard the story or know the story of the Phantom of the Opera, I'll be brief with my description. Basically, at the Paris Opera House, there's a legend of this guy, the Phantom, who just lives there and he causes trouble. Ooh, spooky. And then there's this actress, her name's Christine. She goes there, she wants to become a big star, and she hears through her dressing room wall an angelic voice that tells her that he can bring her to stardom if she listens to him and gives up her suitor, Raoul. This angelic voice turns out to be Eric, otherwise known as the Phantom, who takes Christine to his lair, demanding her love and affection until Raoul has to come with one of his friends and save Christine from the Phantom. It's a pretty basic story, especially with stories that come out nowadays, but it's simple and it pulls it off effectively, and I love the film for that. It has this awkward pace sometimes, which is a little bit of an issue. Like in the beginning, it starts out slow with its Lantern Man scene, which Cinemassacre actually made a whole video about. I'll leave a link to that in the description. It's very interesting stuff. And sometimes the pace is a little too fast, like at the beginning where they're just introducing the Phantom in about 0.13 seconds. However, most of the time the pace is fast, and I love it for that. It's a fast-paced movie, and it's very good. It's very effective with that pace for the most part. It's actually one of the main things I like about the movie, especially considering how most movies nowadays are very slow and take about 2 hours out of your time. This movie is like an hour and a half. Additionally, the makeup effects on Lon Chaney, who's the Phantom, are just superb. Even to this day, I think they look very nice and very good, very realistic. Also, the special effects in one of the scenes where the chandelier is falling from the roof of the opera house, it's done very well. I'm impressed by that effect, especially for the time. Remember, it's 1925. They don't have CGI or anything, and still these effects look, in some cases, better than today's effects. Some scenes in this movie are worth talking about, and so let's talk about them. Obviously, there's the scene almost to the end where Christine has to choose whether to destroy the opera house or to save Raoul, but have to be with the Phantom for the rest of her life, where she has to pick between the Mantis and the Scorpion. I love that scene. It's very tense and suspenseful. You don't know what Christine's gonna pick. Obviously, you want her to save Raoul, but that would condemn her to the Phantom. Also, the Phantom's death scene at the end, where they actually had to reshoot that for a later print, because this movie was originally filmed in 1923, released in 1924 to a select audience for testing, re-released again in 1924 with re-edits and reshoots, and finally released in 1925 to mass audiences and became very popular when they redid a few scenes, one of them being the ending where the Phantom gets hunted down by the crowd and killed by the lake. There are obviously some poorer scenes, like I mentioned, like at the start, the Lantern Man. That was a little awkward, and it's very confusing why it's still in the movie at this point. There was also the scene at the very start where they introduced the Phantom. Basically, these two people, they're making a deal with other people in the opera house, and it seems like they're buying the opera house to make money, but then they get warned, beware of the Phantom, blah, 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 and all of that stuff. But the thing is, like, he's supposed to be a very important character, but they introduce him in a way to me that feels awkward or maybe just not fitting for the character. They introduce him very rapidly, very fast, when in my opinion they should have probably built him up a bit more. one can't really talk about this film without talking about its history, which is surprisingly confusing. Obviously, I mentioned earlier the different prints and reshoots that they had to do to get a successful film with audiences. But there's also things like how they shot certain scenes in color, like the masquerade scene was actually shot in color and has only recently been rediscovered in that color form. Or the scene where the Phantom on the roof overhearing Christine and Raoul's conversation, where his cape was actually colorized. Also, it's worth noting that this film had the longest standing set at Universal, being the Paris Opera House set. Unfortunately, it was torn down to make room for other things, I believe. But still, it's pretty cool history to know that this film had, at one point, the longest standing set, and it's pretty fun. So overall, with very good pacing for the most part, with very good effects, a good story, nice characters, and with an interesting history, with the only downside I see being a bit of awkward pacing, I'm gonna have to give The Phantom of the Opera, this classic film, a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. See ya. Why are you still here? I said, see ya. Gone. Go. Get. I said, see ya. That means goodbye. The outro starts playing. Whoop-ah. See ya. Go. You want to see what's under the mask. I'll show you what's under the mask.